We stand with the protesters. It's the violent Antifa radical militants that are coming out under cover of night, traveling across state lines, using military-style tactics to burn down our cities.
The White House putting Antifa on notice for inciting riots and violence across the nation. President Trump tweeting, quote, "The United States of America will be designating Antifa a terrorist organization." Here to weigh in, GOP Senator, Senate Armed Services Committee member, and a veteran himself, Senator Tom Cotton. Senator, does this do anything, declaring a domestic organization a terror organization?
Well, Brian, first, I commend the president for recognizing that Antifa ought to be treated like a terror organization. There are a lot of tools that the president, the Department of Justice has in their toolkit, from the Insurrection Act to the Explosives Act to the Riot Act, that can be used to stop this anarchy. Let's be clear in the broader context here. The video of George Floyd's death is deeply disturbing. I welcome the quick action by local authorities and the Department of Justice to investigate, to get the facts, and to do justice for George Floyd in accordance with law. And we always respect the rights of peaceful protesters. But anarchy, rioting, and looting, we have zero tolerance for, and it needs to end tonight.
The New York Times has a comprehensive look at what happened to George. And it's even, if you're angry now, you're going to be even more enraged when you're done with it. It's worse than you could even imagine. And these officers should be prosecuted to the hilt of the law. I'm with you. I don't know anybody that feels differently, to be honest. However, in 33 cities, we have a curfew. In 41 states, we have unrest. In 27 states, we brought up the National Guard. And none of it outside Minneapolis seemed effective. If you're the president in the Oval Office today, what can you do to bring order back in the country?
You're right, Brian, that the riots and the anarchy we've seen across the country have nothing to do with the death of George Floyd. In Washington, D.C., they set fire to a historic church attended by every president since James Madison. They defaced the Department of Veterans Affairs and the World War II Memorial, which honor our veterans. They defaced the Lincoln Memorial, a temple in which we remember the great emancipator. What the president can do is say that justice will be done in accordance with law for George Floyd, and we will always respect the right of peaceful protest, as many of these cities saw in the daytime. But the rioting, the anarchy, and the looting ends tonight. If local law enforcement is overwhelmed, if local politicians will not do their most basic job to protect our citizens, let's see how these anarchists respond when the 101st Airborne is on the other side of the street.
And you're a guy from the infantry. You know what an organized opposition is, and this seems to be an organized opposition. And lastly, real quick, the President of the United States is weighing his options to address the nation. Should he, and what should he say?
I believe the president's remarks in Florida at the space launch were very appropriate. He said how horrified he was by the video that we all saw of George Floyd's death, and that we respected the rights of protesters, but there's no place in this country. We should have zero tolerance for anarchy and rioting and looting. And if necessary, the president should use the Insurrection Act to deploy active duty military forces to these cities to support our local law enforcement and ensure that this violence ends tonight, not one more night.
You know, our Army was ready to be deployed to Minneapolis from Fort Drum in New York in 4 hours. They have to be ready, perhaps, to use the Insurrection Act to enable to deploy into New York City, because the city can't withstand another night like that. So, Senator, I look forward to talking to you again. There's few better people to talk to with your diversity of experience than you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
Straight ahead, car set on fire, shops damaged and looted in Salt Lake City, Utah. Former Super Bowl champ and Utah GOP Congressman, congressional candidate Burgess Owens says business owners in the city deserve a big apology. We're going to talk to him after the break.